See those holding girls in the front row?
You can't choose your fans, Danny.
Oh, no way! You don't surprise a guy my age. You give me a heart attack.
Do you remember doing an interview when you were a kid, Chime magazine?
You write like Lennon, man.
John Lennon read it, and he wrote you a letter in 1971. Can you believe it?
So when you were growing up, did you ever have dreams of being a singer or a rock star?
I'm sure I did. I can't reflect on them. I don't remember them, but I do think that I did, probably.
Who were your idols?
Growing up, well, first of all, I grew up in an era when rock and roll was starting, and so there were those groups. But I think it was really not till Bob Dylan came along that then the Beatles, of course, and Rolling Stones and stuff. I was part of that. I was in that world, so they were there. And I also loved classical music. I was a real fan of it. As a matter of fact, that sort of was my favorite kind of music. Still is today.
So when you were kind of growing up, who do you wish would have written you a letter? Like John Lennon writes your character a letter. Who would you have liked to have received a letter from and why?
I got a letter from a great actress and movie star. Her name was Barbara Stanwyck. And I thought when I received this letter that I was in it was just another phase of my life. I had moved into another phase because that was just amazing. That was amazing, I remember.
So when you mentioned Barbara Stanwyck, and I think about you and I think about Chris Plummer, even Barbara Stanwyck, they don't really make them like they used to. In terms
Really?
of kind of the younger actors coming up today, and I want to know why. What do you guys have?
Well, because things change, and the actors today are given certain, they have certain opportunities. It's not, in some ways, they're not given some of the opportunities we had. They're not. It's a big market now, much more. It's much more competitive, and it's not the same. How would you say it? It's not the same stepping from one thing to the next. We had the theater, we had the access to all of that, the off Broadway. We're coming from New York and stuff. But actors are thrown immediately into television, and which it gives them they're not given the variety to play. Like the theater gives you. I've always been an advocate of the theater. I can bore people with that. But I mainly like it because it asks, like Bobby Cannavale is part of the theater. He does it. And you're asked to do things you wouldn't normally do. You're not typecast. You're doing great plays, great literature. At the same time you're working, you're also learning about life through great literature, and you're learning how to play great parts. And sometimes you're in plays watching great actors play great roles. So you get this backlog of experience to get you. So by the time you're 30 and you've done 10 or 12 years of this stuff, you practiced in a certain way.
Thank you so much.
I hope I didn't go on too long.
No, it was...
Dear Danny Collins, stay true to yourself. Stay true to your music. My phone number is below. We can discuss this.
I'm a joke. I haven't written a song in 30 years.
You're having a breakdown.
I'm broken. Ain't nothing left to break. What would have happened if I got that letter when I was supposed to? I want to cancel the rest of the tour.
I need a plane. Jersey.
Oh, welcome to the Hilton.
Look who it is. I see. So you're staying indefinitely here? Are you on drugs?
Currently or in general?
Currently.
No. Dinner?
You're asking me to dinner?
I think so.
I'm gonna have to decline.
You're not a fan?
Currently or in general?
In general.
No.
But we have good patter.
All right, so when you were growing up,
Yes.
did you ever dream of being a rock star, dream of being a singer? Was that ever like a dream?
I still would like to know what it's like, what it feels like to be a great singer.
how it feels to sing like Beyonce or Barbra Streisand or Ella Fitzgerald or Lady Gaga. So yes, I did. My mother's a very good singer, and she has a really beautiful voice. So I listened to my mom singing, and she was always in choral groups and stuff. But I was just kind of okay. I was in the church choir. I was the head chorister at one point. And I was in musicals and stuff when I was a kid, but not really professionally.
So what you're saying is you're not going to drop this acting thing and go be Beyonce?
Well, I don't know. I'll think about it.
So your people are probably asking you, but who were your idols growing up? Obviously in the film, Al's idol was John Lennon. Who were your idols?
Definitely Julie Andrews was one of my idols. I loved Sound of Music. I didn't see that many movies as a kid. We didn't go to the movies a lot, but I remember Sound of Music, and I remember the impression that it made on me. And I think it was the 8th grade, we had to do a lip sync song, and I picked I Have Confidence in Me from The Sound of Music, and I got to meet Julie Andrews, and she's one of those people who's like just as amazing and nice in life. And so, yeah, I would say Julie. And Liv Ullmann I also really admired when I got to be older and I started watching art movies and stuff.
When you were all artsy.
Exactly.
I'm Andrew from Fox.
I'm Andrew from Fox. That's so weird.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
we're twins.
Yeah.
All right, so when you were growing up, did you ever have dreams of being a rock star, being a singer?
No, never. I mean, if I had a dream as a kid, it would have been to be in the chorus of a show on Broadway. And that's pretty much still my dream.
So are we close to making that happen?
I don't know. It's harder than you would think.
Do you sing have you sung before? Or are you a...
I did musicals growing up, but I really am better off. I don't want to sing by myself in front of people. I really do want to be in the chorus. I'm not kidding.
So what you're saying is you're not Beyonce?
No, I'm not Beyonce.
Who were your idols growing up?
Marie Osmond. What else do you need? Marie Osmond. And then since I graduated from college, I would say Annette Benning.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. I worked at a theater, and the head of the theater had gone to graduate school with Annette, and he told me once, "Oh, you remind me of this actress I know," and she was just starting to come up, and he said, "You guys have a similar kind of discipline," and ever since then, she's been my total favorite.
So, I just first have to ask you, when you're working with a legend like Pacino, there's only so many actors where if you say the last name, you know exactly who you're talking about.
It's true.
First impressions when you were on set and you were like, holy crap, this is...
Well, luckily I had just finished doing a play with Al on Broadway. So really, I already went through that when I did the play with Al. And, of course, when you get to do a play, you get to rehearse for 4 weeks. And so I spent the first couple of weeks of rehearsal going like, oh, I can't believe it's Al Pacino. And then, so by the time we got to the movie, I was already his boy, and so we'd already been friends and played cards together and gone on vacation in the Bahamas. No, we didn't do that. That's the only thing we didn't do.
Not yet.
But yeah, so we're pretty close now, and Al's just such a professional, and he comes so prepared and so ready to play that really, when you're doing the work, it just doesn't do me any good to sit there and pinch myself the whole time. I just want to be present with him.
So when you were growing up as a kid, did you ever have dreams of being a rock star, dreams of being a singer?
I didn't. I had dreams of becoming an actor and one day working with Al Pacino and Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro and all those guys, because they were really just heroes of mine as a kid, But being a rock star, no. It's pretty funny to see Al playing a rock star, yeah.
Seeing, him go through that process in the film, think you might want to change career trajectories? Would you ever want to go down that route, if you could?
I would like to play a part like that. And I do love to sing. I mean, I have a crew of guys that I go and karaoke with all the time, and we get our private room and we sing, and we do this at least once a month. And when we do it, we go all out. I will say, I think that like one of the hardest things to do is to sing to a crowd of people, which I was very impressed with Al watching him at the Greek Theater. You know, I showed up there just to watch him do that to a huge crowd of people. And I think that's hard. I think that's different from doing a play or from doing a movie. You know, you're very much engaging the crowd and sort of asking them to love you. And it was impressive to watch Al do that. I've never seen him do that.
What's, you know, obviously a fan letter comes to play in this film. What's one of the more memorable pieces of fan mail you've ever received that you can remember?
Oh, for sure. I actually get a recurring letter from different people that means the world to me, which is that telling me that Alias they watched it during chemo. It's become like a power show for people to watch while they're going through chemotherapy. I don't know if it's just online somewhere that's something you should do, but people talk about it and what that character meant to them and what the show meant to them during a difficult time, and that to me just blows my mind. J.J. Abrams and I always talk about it when we see each other.
You still don't have the moves from that show, right?
I got the moves.
Could you kick my ass is what you're saying?
Right now,
Yeah.
I could drop you.
I'm a little scared.
I got a great letter from Woody Allen, and it was after we worked together. And he came to see Glengarry. We had done Blue Jasmine together, and he was in the audience. He was on the very first preview for Glengarry. It was like the very first preview with an audience, and he was in the front row. And he wrote me a really, really nice letter.
Did you see him when you went out there?
Not until we bowed, and when we bowed, he was leading the standing ovation from the front row. It was a trip. It was a total trip, and I remember we took a bow, and I was like, front row? And he went, it's all I could get.
That's your Woody.
That's my Woody. It's the hands. Yeah.
So how do you, obviously in this film, like, you know, Al goes to fix a situation that he regrets. Was there something in your own life that maybe you went back and were like, all right, I'm going to make this right, that maybe that sticks out in your head that you've done? Or how do you deal with those kinds of situations?
It's funny. I'm thinking of a time that happened to me when somebody, I can remember someone making amends with me, that it meant a lot to me. It was a professional thing. I had been fired, and it was understandable that I was fired. It was a television pilot. I wasn't the right person, and then somebody else, and so they fired me. But at the time, they felt so bad about it, and they couldn't really talk to me about it. And it was later that somebody from that sent me a letter and just said, maybe I didn't quite handle that right, and I apologize. And it was a great lesson for me, because of course we all have those things that we've done that maybe we didn't handle it right, or you have a regret about. So yeah.
And just wrapping up, you know, I couldn't help but watch the film, watching you and Pacino and Chris Plummer. You know, the young starlets today, I feel like they don't make them like they used to. Like, you guys are there's something unique about you.
Thank you.
That is different than now. And what do you think that is?
I can only tell you that when I was standing there with Christopher Plummer and Al Pacino in the same scene, I was having a pinch me moment. And Chris Plummer is the most fun. He's gorgeous. At that time, I think he was 84 when we made the movie, just so classy and so much fun. And I said, you know, you have to come to my house because I want to ask you questions. And he's great fun. One of those people, loves to tell stories. Because I saw him do the Scottish play with Glenda Jackson in New York, maybe in the 80s, and I asked him about that. He's a delightful man, great actor. And I just was so impressed. And of course I thought to myself, well, I hope I can do that when I'm in my 80s and be there and working. And he was so excited and worked so hard and all of that good stuff. So yeah, it was amazing.
Here's the thing, though. We don't celebrate actors with all of this experience with roles like this. I mean, roles like this aren't written for people. They're written for kids when they're 20, and when we're all 20, we don't know what we're doing, except for Al Pacino and probably Chris Plummer and Annette Benning. But you're watching a master class with the three of them, and they've earned that spot.
So it begs the question, you know, as you grow older in Hollywood, do you think that maybe the roles won't come, or is that going to change?
I don't sweat it that much. I mean, if I did, I'm surprised the roles, I'm always surprised to get a job. I have been my whole life. So I'm in my 40s and I still get jobs and I feel like, oh wow, look at that. I thought they were all gonna go away, but they're not. They're different than they were, but they're appropriate to where I am now in my life and I love them. So it's all good.
I agree with you, though. I have this conversation with friends of mine all the time where I'm like, is there anybody that's like these guys that we idolized when we were kids? I can't think of anybody, and I don't know if it's because we're contemporaries of these other actors that we don't want to say, well, it's me. And we don't, at the same time, we don't want to say, it's Gosling, because if it's Gosling, it's not me. But yeah, I don't know. Which, by the way, I mention him because I think he's really good. But yeah, I don't know, man. I know that when Al was coming up, and there were people he loved like Brando and Charles Lawton and those kinds of guys. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we're so over inundated with personalities that and I think in the 1970s, there were no 50 Cents. Starring in movies or M&Ms, and those guys are fine, but there were actors and there was everybody else, and there was no Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever that show's called. So I think we're just inundated with so many personalities that the line's been blurred as to who's truly like a great actor or not.
Eminem is no Pacino. Sorry. Sorry, Marshall.
It's pretty great in that movie, though.
Yeah, he is pretty good.
Yeah.
Why New Jersey? I'm meeting someone for the first time. How do I look?
Well, you look slightly ridiculous.
Nah. See you at 7.
No, you won't. You'd expect it to be easy meeting your grown son for the first time.
Hello.
Hello.
Why are you here?
I'm just making some changes in my life.
In a few minutes, my husband's gonna walk through that door, and this will be the last time I ever see you.
You have every right to be angry.
I don't care enough to be angry, okay? Nice to meet you. Have a good life.
Family can be messy, but you shouldn't give up.
I agree. Dinner tomorrow?
Good night, Danny.
I haven't written anything in a long time.
You're nervous.
Yes.
I love that.
I've spent my entire life trying to become the man that you aren't.
I don't know what to say.
I don't need you to say anything, man. I just need you to leave.
You're gonna have to deal with it because I'm here. You can't buy redemption. Dinner tomorrow?
You know what I like about you? You never give up.
Some dinners are worth fighting for.